extremely happy and blessed to be here. Um, it's been a challenging but very, very important, very important phase in my life right now. And like everything else, you have to learn and grow and change. And I want to give a special shout out to my grandchild as I think about her. Kaylee, hello. Love you lots. Um, and today's it's February, right? And it's not just National Heart Month from the American Heart Association, but also uh, Black History. We had Dr. Eleanor Webb on last weekend. If you get a chance, check her show out. Just a great, 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 great minimal person talking about intergenerational wealth, and we really tackled, some of the blocks to that discussion on intergenerational wealth. Um, and wanted to kind of expand on this discussion. And as we think about not just heart disease, but African Americans and females in heart disease. And one of the things I think people do their homework, go to YouTube, put in the search if you have YouTube, or access it. African American women, African Americans in health, and it paints a very broad spectrum about some of the healthcare access issues and disparities, and I kind of wanted to approach it from that aspect, but also kind of understand some of the what people were mentioning in a lot of these videos. They talked about disparities. They talked about, women not taking care of themselves, being the last to take care of themselves, about the huge amount of misinformation about heart disease. And so I thought it was kind of important that we kind of delve into that. I think one of the things that kind of concerned me on one hand is that one half of all African American women over 20 have heart disease. But the flip side to that is that 80% of the things that cause heart disease are preventable. Now, I think it's important to understand that heart disease is just not heart disease as we know it. And it kind of got me into the discussion about what is heart disease. And kind of look through GPT chat and broaden some information sources. Heart disease refers to a variety of conditions that affect the blood vessels, the cardiovascular system, and it's a broad term that encompasses different disorders. And some of the main components of heart disease are one, coronary artery disease, and it's the most common cause of heart disease. It occurs when the blood vessels supplying the heart become narrowed or blocked by cholesterol and substances, and thereby reducing the blood flow to the heart. Coronary artery disease, ischemia. The discussions around the heart as a system of pumps and vessels, a closed pump vessel system, is that it is so important in taking nutrients to the farthest reaches of our body and taking waste products away. Again, the blood doesn't just function to provide oxygenated blood, although that's a major issue over 120 days, which is the life cycle of a red blood cell. What's most important is that it provides us with the nutrients. And when the blood is layered with stuff like fat and sugar and salt, then it prevents the tissues from being provided proper nutrition. Again, coronary artery disease. Another aspect of heart disease is heart failure, which my old definition is the heart becomes an inefficient pump in order to provide the needs of the body. Big picture. And speaking of heart if you're looking at this right now, you're seeing one of my mentors, Chuck Johnson. I just wanted to make sure people acknowledge him in Black history. He is Black history. He was one of the first African Americans to have his own publicly owned TV station. He grew up. He broadcasted almost 7 days a week, and it was a 24-hour station. Um, I was very blessed to be able to do some shows with him and with a couple of folks. And it was a great experience to be in an African American environment where we were providing media and education, and it's just something I never lost, and that's why I do it today. Thank you, Chuck. And so, again, heart disease. Heart disease just isn't one thing. I know we focus on high blood pressure and heart attacks and strokes, but it's the disease. I call people, so when I talk to folks about heart disease, I say heart disease is a family. The children are, for example, hypertension. The children are, for example, in this case, heart failure. And heart failure is defined, again, I said my definition over the years has been when the heart is an inefficient pump and does not provide the needs for the body. And again, it not being a efficient pump, it leads to insufficient oxygen and nutrients reaching the body's organs, and thereby ischemia, thereby heart attack, strokes, thereby kidney failure, thereby tissue ischemia, limb disease, thereby loss in mentation. Again, one of the biggest issues with dementia or in cognitive decline is blood flow to the brain. That's why you're seeing a lot of stuff, and inflammation. One of the other concerns in this family of heart disease, cardiomyopathy. This is a disease of muscles in which it can result in the heart becoming too big or too small, becoming an ineffective pump through disease processes. Cardiomyopathy is an enlargement of the heart. The heart is a muscle, and when this muscle becomes too large or becomes diseased or becomes, in some cases, affected by diseases like amyloidosis, oh my God, butchering the name, lupus, inflammatory diseases, and it just, again, decreases the ability of the heart to function as an efficient pump. Valvular disease. So within the heart, there are valves, aortic, pulmonic, and mitral. And these valves function to allow blood to flow in and out from one side, the left side, taking blood oxygenated through the body, and then from the right side, receiving it for reoxygenation and removal of waste products and those kinds of things. And that's done through the, again, almost a traffic system, I call it. So those vessels can be, those valves can be diseased, and those diseases of the vessels of the valves, aortic stenosis, mitral stenosis, pulmonary stenosis, a number of issues where the vessels, the valves aren't functioning properly, either becoming rigid or too floppy. In other words, instead of restricting the blood flow, it brings the blood, it lets the blood flow in and out, as opposed to, or doesn't let it come into the various chambers, particularly the left side of the heart, left ventricle to the right ventricle, and the left atrium to the right atrium. Again, it's a free-flowing system. And again, arrhythmias. Again, this family is where not only the heart have a vessel system and a valvular system, it also has a electric system. It's the by way the heart beats in a rhythmic pattern, and the pathways, the sinoatrial node, the atrial node to the Purkinje fibers, on an ongoing basis, 24/7, emit timely pulses that allow the heart to beat in a rhythmic fashion and to, at that point, expel blood and receive blood. Some of the major arrhythmias that are really concerned: ventricular arrhythmia, atrial fibrillation. These are issues where the heart is beating too fast, or bradycardia, where the heart is beating too slow, less than 60 to 50 beats per minute. In other words, this is a really unique system, the heart, the cardiovascular system, and that's why the family of heart disease encompasses so much death and disability because of the function. Again, the heart is the key of brain. Without the heart, without the brain, you don't function. And congenital heart disease, children with heart disease, valvular disease. This is why children are screened on an early basis. And some of the new surgeries now are allow the children to have these heart defects addressed in the womb or soon after being born. One of the things I think are amazing is pediatric cardiac surgeries. I think it's just absolutely brilliant. And again, here's our old enemy here, hypertension. So about 8 different items make up the family of heart disease, hypertension being last in this list. And again, it's a prolonged elevated blood pressure and can strain the heart, leading to various heart problems. And the major issues concerning this are that, again, primarily heart disease, in particular, the child, the wayward child, hypertension really affects all Americans, number one killer, in particular African Americans, and particularly African American women. I want to thank my Facebook family, and I want to thank all you folks for tuning in. Believe Radio, 24-hour inspirational gospel station. I want to thank Animology and Curtis for getting me in here and getting me started up. And I really want to appreciate somebody. Go celebrate Black History Month in some form or fashion. Read a book, go to a play, listen to something that you didn't hear before. Again, in regards to heart disease, 80% of heart disease is preventable. And we've got to change the narrative of Black women in hair and exercise because it's preventing a lot of women of color from taking care of themselves. So somehow there has to be some collective mix where all the women that care for hair can show women how to take care of their hair while they're exercising. I think they'd be the best people to talk to. And I think I'm going to talk to somebody about that. What's the best way to take care of your hair before, during, and exercise? We need some answers to that because it's one of the things I found that was major in women not exercising, thereby causing one of the major risk factors they can control, weight, and activity level, to lower the risk of heart attack and stroke and heart disease. Major. But it's a discussion that we're having. 50% of Americans are obese, considered to be obese. And the prevalence, of hypertension in African American adults is 45.7% compared to 32% for non-Hispanic whites. It has an earlier onset. And why is that? We don't really understand that. I think, again, we get back to the issue on structural and institutional racism and culture and class and healthcare access and healthcare disparities and fear of the healthcare system due to things like the Tuskegee studies and Henrietta Lacks, the use of her body parts by American medicine to make billions of dollars, and not up until the last few years have met with the family and provided some restitution. Again, all things we need to understand. It says, in the risk of hypertension increases with age. So what we're seeing now is, although we have folks that have heart disease early in life, as we get older, it tends to be more predominant. And that's why, because we're eating more stuff, COVID caused a lot of this. We are in a different dynamic, I think, than I've ever been used to in terms of how can we get people to be more proactive as opposed to reactive to their health post-COVID. I think it's an issue that we need to have a better discussion about. Before it was the black churches, before it was health fairs, and that just hasn't been happening. And it has been happening because people want to or are fearing to conjugate and convert. And one of the bigger things is awareness and treatment. Despite the high prevalence of awareness and treatment and control rates of hypertension in American community have been reported to be lower than, so even when we get the information, even we have the access to the medicines, even when someone like me is urging you to do all those things, we still don't meet the bar in terms of blood pressure control. And I think that's something that we need to understand in February and Your Heart Month, is that these issues are still omnipresent. Look, you can't change age, you can't change race, you can't change sex, but there's a whole 80% of things that we can do can lower our risk and reduce the medicines that we have to take. That's what I tell folks. The complications, of course, of hypertension include stroke, kidney disease, blindness, cognitive changes. There's a whole issue around how elevated blood pressure affect our ability to think and reason, along with how we eat. So we are putting out a call, a demand of folks to start understanding what they need to do to take better care of themselves, because we are the best people to take care of ourselves. And for us African Americans with hypertension may experience more severe complications and have higher risk associated. The people that love me and listen to me, it means everybody. But with African Americans, the people of color and poor people and people that have less access, they're just more at risk. We are all at risk, but more at risk. Again, I have discussed ad nauseum Miss Bowie, who is an Olympic sprinter who died of complications in pregnancy, last trimester. So certainly this is something that's not missed, and we have to talk about what is the discussion about how we're being approached, how this discussion takes place. Do I trust you as a provider? Can you trust me as a clinician? Or you have the best to-date information to make your decisions? These are what a lot of the health models are moving toward now. And I hope it's more of moving to these models as opposed to have a conversation about what the models should look like. And again, the efforts to address disparities involve community-based interventions and education campaigns, increase access to healthcare, and not just access to healthcare that meets our needs and treats us like human beings, because that's where the care begins. It's healthcare. It's not McDonald's care. In my career now, I don't understand a 15-minute visit. And now they're orientating the healthcare emergency the EHRs, the electronic medical records, so that on the end of me seeing somebody, the efficiency is because I've had to do less writing. It gives me more time to talk, interact with the individual, and really find out what else is going on besides what they come in for. There's two problems that people come in for. They come in for the problem that's on the complaint, and then there's the problem that I need to solve or help them solve. And it may not necessarily be a medical problem. It may be, behavioral health. It may be food, clothing, and shelter issues. It may be social determinants that prevent them from providing care. That's the real issue in hypertension, heart disease, medical. And as I reviewed the literature, I had to understand that as a discussion about why we don't get good care, why we don't are provided good care, because good care requires work and vigilance and empathy and understanding, and it's change. It's always changing, and stuff like regular blood pressure screens, early detection, believe that, and timely medical intervention, not intervention after the person's had the heart attack or stroke. I used to get a lot of blowback and continue to do with a lot of medical directors about me doing all these specialty appointments. Well, either you do the specialty appointment while the person is standing up and can cost the system less money, or you do it while they're laying down in an emergency room, costing you billions of dollars. Choice. Pay me now, pay me later. And hypertension / high blood pressure is significant in African American communities. It highlights its higher prevalence, earlier onset, greater severity than any other racial group. And I think that has to do with institutional and structural racism. That's where cultural and race become an issue. Right now, the American healthcare system is undermanned, undergunned, overworked, underpaid, and exhausted. And that's because that's the world. According to the American Heart Association, we talk about prevalence, early onset, complications of the human toll. Heart disease is close to me because it's close to my family. My mom had hypertension, and family members have had hypertension, and it's had a major effect on our lives, on our family lives. And so, if we can prevent one person from having a stroke or having a heart attack or having to deal with any of it, then we do ourselves favor. Another one of the conditions, again, is arteriosclerosis of heart disease arteries. It's a buildup of fatty deposits and cholesterol and other substances, and contributes to early development of coronary artery disease, which leads to ischemic heart disease, heart attack, strokes, which leads to elevated blood pressure, or vascular conditions, vision changes. Hypertension is a major cause of blindness. Ischemic limb disease, erectile dysfunction. And I think that the major risk factors, hypertension, lifestyle factors such as diet, physical activity, alcohol consumption, so genetic factors, they play a role. And again, heart disease is just not heart disease. Heart disease is a family of which we really emphasize the discussions around the children like hypertension, heart failure, coronary artery disease. But when you put them together, they devastate us in terms of health outcomes. And some of the risk factors that included not just high blood pressure. If it was just high blood pressure, it'd be great. It's diabetes, diabesity, and the whole issue of that, in particularly the African American community, diabetes, or defined as the body's inability to handle normal blood sugar elevations and excursions in those blood sugar elevations, and to address the sugars that are elevated with a production of endocrines like insulin, to again allow the food that we're consuming to be processed into energy so that we can consume it into the mitochondria. Well, without insulin, you don't have the key to open up the cell to process the sugar. Simple as that. And what that means is that you have all this sugar now that's not being processed, or insulin sensitivity, where your body's making enough insulin, but it's just not providing enough insulin in order for you to process the sugar that's in the system, which is too much. Obesity. Again, that's where you get the symptoms of blood sugar in terms of diabetes. Being real thirsty, real hungry, urinating a lot, fatigue. Wounds that won't heal, cognitive decline, obesity, which is 50% of Americans are overweight. The body mass index is 25, 26, unrealistic. Even when you account for people of color and body types, we're just all overweight. We're too heavy. And we gain weight as we age, which makes this whole issue in terms of blood pressure, in terms of diabetes, in terms of health, ongoing issue. There are some genetic factors that contribute to increased risk of heart disease in the African American community. Not uncommon. Being a Black person in America is social determinant. Coffee will make you Black too, by the way. Just kidding. Socioeconomic factors, including access to healthcare. So I told you, it just isn't that you get high blood pressure and you have a heart attack and stroke. That is years in the making. And in African Americans' case, it's years in the making of being placed, having to deal with child slavery, having to deal with Jim Crow, go on to the civil rights movement, and in current environment, the constant attack on our right to vote, our ability to have a job, our ability to go to school, always impact. Always impact. And of course, naturally, it affects your heart. And some of our cultural and behavioral practices also, in terms of, soul food, right? Who says soul food anymore? The last time you were soul food? Let's go get some soul food. I haven't heard that in a while. I had to go get soul food, okay? All right. I think that it's important to note that risk factors and their interactions are complex, and heart disease is a multifactorial condition. No way, can't ignore that. So some of my writings are a piece of my own writing, GPT chat, YouTube, a number of lecturers, and I want to thank them in gratuity for allowing me to have these discussions. The American Heart Association, data heavy. Data heavy. But even when you have the facts, because of structural and institutional racism, people are frightened. So where does that lead? That leads to prevention. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. I want to thank my good friend Danny Cotton. This was his color for his 70th birthday. Danny, you didn't look a day over 69. I want to thank him for inviting me. He's a great Black man, had large family, large network of two types of families. His general family, which was just laden with Black females that just loved him to death, that loved him out of a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah. And you had to be there to hear the story. I don't want to repeat the stories. I think you have to be there. And he has just come up and running some houses for folks that are returning from incarceration and addiction issues, and just turned his life around. Just absolutely turned his life around. I can't think of the Black men in the 70s. In my lifespan, I'm 68, turning 69. I told him I'm gonna catch him. But again, 70-year-old Black man, man, rarity. So we have to focus on prevention. And some of that says there are a number of factors that can prevent us from having heart attack and stroke. And if you haven't had one, you don't want to have one. and the folks that I have to take care of with them tell you that you don't want to have a second one, but you're more at risk. So that's why you take care of yourself. Uh, and it's a part of an overall healthy lifestyle for African Americans. And I say that uniquely because we have challenges in the community, fear in the community, violence in the community. I just want to give a special shout out to the some of the gun violence victims in the last couple of weeks. It's just absolutely devastating. Particularly this event at the Kansas City Chiefs parade. People are going to those kids, 11 of them shot, traumatized. They're never gonna go. They're never going to a parade, let alone anything with football involved in it. And so we have to get a handle on this gun violence. I want to give a special shout out to my grandchild, Jamie Pearson, and I love her lots. Lost her a couple years back to gun violence. Kind of why I'm doing the show now, because I had to channel that anger and forgive her murderer. I had to forgive him. I have to forgive him. And we have to be forgiving. That's why I did a show on forgiveness and gratitude. We have to be that way. We can't be as hard. All these men with girls, they can't be hard no more. If they were, then they ain't now. That's really interesting. I saw all these dads with their daughters and granddaughters. It was really, really kind of interesting, the event. Thanks again. Also want to give a thank you to the African American Health Council, Healthy Families. I was able to chair an event with two great doctors about mental health and mental access issues, and we'll talk more about that. But I want to get back to this thing about prevention. And prevention is it's a village. The issue of heart disease prevention is a village. We need to embrace that village, and we need to understand that the village we need to embrace in one that puts us changing our lifestyle. I say total lifestyle changes in terms of activity. They're talking about exercise 30 minutes every other day for 4 days. I think we can do that. Says that you can have help. You can help and build a powerful health care team. Again, a village. There's been significant progress in disease management, and I point to the number of opportunities before COVID where Black churches were really involved in bringing forth in terms of healthcare models, and making prevention as a key factor in terms of treating. Again, I don't know if we can separate the Black church from healthcare or healthcare from the Black church. I don't think we can do that. But again, we talked about all the data. Take a look at the scope of the problem. We see that in spite of all the things that we've done, cardiovascular disease still remains the number one killer of women. Cardiovascular disease kills at least 50,000 women a year, 50,000 African American a year. Only 1 in 5 believe they are at risk. Only 52% of African American women know the signs and symptoms of heart disease. And it's not just chest pain, it's not shortness of breath. Women and diabetics and elderly present differently. It's usually nausea, vomiting. It could be pain to the shoulder. It could be just an overall feeling of not feeling good about themselves or feeling tired. A fear of impending doom. Something's going to happen to me. Listen to your intuition. It probably is true. Only 36% of African American women know that their heart disease is their greatest risk. Now, I've been practicing 30 years, 35 years. I can remember having this discussion 5 years into my practice because I was seeing so many women of color. Again, my mother had hypertension, and I just saw it as one of the things that was, when I looked at the totality of it, it was heart disease that was killing my community and the women that I take care of. So this is not a discussion that's been not lost. It's just being a discussion that's being realized because a lot of my patients would go in various treatment regimes and not get the treatment that they needed, not be advocated for medicine, not being advocated for special appointment, not being advocated to change food choices because it wasn't about taking care of them, it was about moving them on. Subsequently, they're talking more discussion around patient-centered medical homes. Subsequently, more they're talking about the intersection between health, mental health, and medical health. Subsequently, they're talking about healthcare disparities. That's heart disease. I know what I just said, but that's the heart disease. You want to know your risks. If you're smoking, come on. And I love my dad. My dad smoked for 50 some odd years. I can still remember me walking with him and can smell the tobacco on his fingers. I mean, it just was there. I was wondering why did my son and he smoked, but I didn't smoke. My dad ended up dying of lung cancer and heart disease related issues. But understand the man that he grew up in and what he had to deal with in terms of just trying to make a living for his son. Him having to get up and ride the bus to Claremont Hotel, to the Hilton in East Oakland. Had to carry a little knife with him so nobody would mess with him. He was in his late 60s, and his smart ass son didn't realize that his father didn't need to be riding the bus that late. Somebody did, though. Somebody, you gotta listen to somebody pull your coat and tell you're not doing things right. So you gotta know your risk. And again, smoking, kidney disease. Kidney disease is playing a major factor because it's the heart disease and the coronary artery disease that make the kidney disease what it is. And the kidney is it's the chemist of the body. And when you lose your kidney, you lose the ability to function. They have dialysis, but it's just harder. So the best thing is to prevent the kidney loss. But if you can't, there's some great options, And it has a lot to do with lifestyle changes. Eat a healthy diet. We're talking about, soul food. Well, I don't know. They have a vegetarian, a vegan chef on now. Now, with all these particular food choices and food changes, you have to make sure you're getting all your nutrients. Like, for example, if you're going to do a vegan diet, how do you replace the B12? That's what meat gives you. So if you're going to do vegan, you have to make sure you're talking to someone that understands what a balanced diet like that would look like and make sure you get the nutrients that you need. But again, you should plan around vegetables, fruits, not so much fruit. You gotta watch the fruit because of the sugar. Whole grains, legumes, and the folks that have GI problems, diverticulitis, colitis, they have to watch their eating of these grains because sometimes they cause problems. The literature says, it's not a big deal. A lot of folks I know, if they include those in their diet, they have a lot more stomach problems. So just plant-based nutrients, lean meat, proteins, fish, the fish being salmon, of course, baked, broiled. And read the labels. I'm a big reader of sodium now. Read sodium. Compare products and read the sodium. Pick the one with the lowest sodium. It's kind of funny too because I'm a black man looking at labels in the supermarket. I guess they think I'm gonna steal shit. So, but I'll be reading to see whether it's sodium or not. Be physically active. Exercise. I think exercise is the key for me. I'm still able to run this long lake. It's 3.4 miles in Oakland. I know it's they say about safety and violence and all that stuff. I just have to do it. because it's what I've done. I ran the lake since high school. Went to McClymonds High School. That was our training. And I just saw recently, a couple years back, seeing the football players from McClymonds running the lake in full gear. Phew, but they won. They were good stuff. So adults should get at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise or 75 minutes of vigorous exercise each week. I'm not talking about flipping the challenge or having sex too, by the way. I'm talking about active exercise. Watch your weight. And if you're too heavy, if your knees are hurting, if your hips are hurting, if you can't do the positional moves that you like, then you need to lose some weight. America as a whole is inactive. And I've even gotten to chair surfing. And you get to control your chair surfing. That ain't healthy. But you get lazy. You get confident. You get kind of cocky. And what I do is I will myself out there, and it's maybe cold, maybe a little bit more rainy. I gear up and I go out there and get around. It's hard. Yeah. What I'm saying to folks that the lifestyle changes are the toughest ones to make. Taking the pills are easy if you take them. And half of Americans don't take the pills right. And you need to do something to help a healthcare provider, a healthcare system. You need to be proactive, opposed to reactive. And along with the hardest referral that I've had be able to get is a nutritionist. Nutritionist. A nutritionist. We are what we eat, America. We are what we eat, Africans in America. We are what we eat, Black women. And I must say that I can remember, and I'm watching my my page in Facebook, and I'm seeing Black women that look like the Black women in my community. Now, about the clothing I am, but they look like Black women as opposed to being anorexic. And I see that from all the visits and likes they get, they can't keep them. Hey, BBWs are in, Big Beautiful Women are in, women that look like Black women that I grew up in with my aunt and my niece, and that's who they're looking like. And you have to manage the conditions. If you do have high blood pressure, you have elevated cholesterol, you have diabetes, you got to get these under control. ABCs, what A1C less than 7, blood pressure less than 130/80, cholesterol less than 200, in some cases less than 180. Know your numbers, know your ABCs. Take your medicine if you got it. Now, here's a discussion that we have to believe. Is that I tell people that if you were 6 million years ago, if we were able to address this, we would have addressed it, but we haven't. 6 million years ago, we were eating a plant-based diet because we were running from the saber-toothed tiger. And the saber-toothed tiger wanted to eat us. We couldn't eat it. So that's the discussion that we have to have. Again, get your team. The people that are like-minded, that want to be with you and work with you to make changes, to make total lifestyle changes, because that's what is required. And the bottom line is healthy living is the best way to delay or avoid heart and brain diseases. This means being active and fit, eating healthy, avoiding tobacco, managing conditions that can put you at greater risk. And American Heart Association has some great tools. Join Healthy for Good. Stuff. Do your homework and go for it. Again, I want to thank the Black Family Alliance and my last week's guest, Dr. Eleanor Webb. And I want to say it's been a great 35 years for me doing this. I want to thank all the people that have been on the journey with me and supported me. And again, it's Black History Month. And again, the Berkeley Equity Summit, I want to again thank them. The Alliance thing, I want to thank Willie Phillips, who, along with the Black Infant and Family Project, allowed me to moderate a discussion with Dr. Nunley and Dr. Jackson. Great psychologists in the community, and a great agenda. And I always want to say that when we talk about American history, we talk about African American history. They are synonymous. And I was looking through, and I think we talked about this last week, but when I hit the search and Google, and first person came up was Paul Laurence Dunbar. And Mr. Lombard was he was an African American poet of national and international notoriety. Mr. Dunbar completed 4 collected volumes of short stories, 4 novels, 3 published plays, lyrics for 13 songs, and 14 books on poetry, and published over 400 poems, with his writings featured in many national publications, including the New York Times, the Atlantic Monthly, and the Saturday Evening Post. And my question is, do they want to ban his writings? Is he a person that, in this move to remove certain forms of literature from the shelves, is he in that group? Is his writings too radical? Now, I know we got the usual suspects: Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, Rosa Parks, Maya Angelou, Cheryl Chisholm, Katherine Johnson. Katherine Johnson, interesting, mathematician and physicist at NASA, calculated trajectories for the Mercury and Apollo programs, including the first moon landing. GPS was invented by a Black woman. Look it up. If you get to your destination using GPS, you better call that Black woman and thank her. Black history, African American history is American history. Now, Shirley Ann Jackson, she was a theoretical physicist and first African American woman to earn a PhD from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, or MIT. Can you imagine that Black woman in her class with all those white men, and she's looking around? She said, "Yeah, I graduated with a job. How about that?" That's why they don't want us to hear this history. My granddaughter needs to know that there was the first Black woman that became a PhD at MIT. That's history. That's American history. Here's another one I like. It's because I'm more prone to medical stuff. And Dr. Jewel Plummer Cobb. I don't have any relationship to the Cobb family, but who knows? Could be. She was a cell biologist and cancer researcher, notable for her work on melanoma and skin cancer. So if you are benefiting from skin cancer research, she was one of the women that made it happen. Notable for her work on melanoma, she was a first African American woman to chair a major department in predominantly white institution. I keep telling you, you could probably see the picture of the staff, and then she's that little dot right there. That's what my Stanford picture look. There he is right there. Oh God, you got to go through. And here's one: Dr. Lita Maybach, physician and chief health equity officer, American Medical Association. She advocates for health equity and works to address social determinants of health. Hada Nico, physicist and cancer, just brimming our Black history is brimming with Black women that have made a mark that we need to hear and know. And I said, do your homework, do your research. Which brought me to a sidebar discussion around. I was again with Dr. Webb last week, and we were talking with Mr. McGuire of Lazarus Inc. And he says this needs to be a total reinvestment in the educational system. He brings it up because we talked about her being past president, that it estimates California's budget estimates that the cost of jail for each inmate in the state will reach $75,000. That's about $2,000 more than the price of a year of Harvard University, counting tuition, room, books, boards, and expenses. Cheaper to keep you in jail than give you enough money to go to Harvard and take care of yourself. America's values are kind of not cool. And I kind of pointed back to this discussion around heart disease and why it has been such an issue for us. It's been such an issue because that's the way it's been designed. It's been designed for it to be an issue. It's been designed for it not to be an easy fix, because that way you just kill more people. Now, one of the best things I think happened in medicine was standardization of care. If you go to hypertension, you can see the standardization of and some carve-outs for African Americans. African Americans tend to do better with calcium channel blockers like amlodipine and diuretics. They tend to do less better with the angiotensin converting enzymes or the ACEs, but you still need them because of diabetes and kidney disease. They really promote better care in kidney disease. So it's a mixed bag of what people need to be working on in order to make this happen. I've got about 10 more minutes. Again, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I want to thank my Facebook family. I want to thank Chuck Johnson again. Hey, never forget him. And the legacy. Never forget the legacy. Don't forget it. Can't forget the legacy. So back to one of the reasons why. I was reading the white paper on reparations, and it's the 13th chapter. It says, impact of racism on Black health. Systemic racism has culminated over centuries and severely damaged physiological health for African Americans. Some 694 scholars have argued that medical discrimination in the United States against African Americans is so severe that it is a form of biological terrorism. It's estimated that this is one of the major causes of our lack of health access and equity. Black patients with sickle cell are discriminated against by medical providers who display racist attitudes and accuse people with sickle cell of faking their pain. This results in inadequate treatment. There are many such other complications. For example, the Office of Civil Rights could identify examples of discriminatory practices, including collection and reporting of demographic data and conducting investigation, policing, incarceration. Racial inequity. Again, why so much for us? Because it's a heavy head that wears the crown. Oh, symptoms. Sometimes women don't even have any symptoms. Others say they may have a little bit of chest pain. They may have some nausea, some vomiting, fatigue. heart disease, heart attacks, and strokes have already been presented as this raging bull piece. If you go back to Fred Sanford, I'm dating myself. Yeah, I'm going. No, it doesn't happen like that. In women and elderly and diabetics, they have a misrepresentation of their disease, and that's something still hasn't been dealt with. Why do you ask those questions when in reality those questions may not give you the answers that you seek? You may need to move the testing. You may need to do the EKG. You may need to do a scan of the heart because that may not be permanent. But if they are elderly or have diabetes or a female, you have to look at different factors in terms of the heart disease. Let's see. I think that we are coming to a point that we have to acknowledge that these particular systemic and institutional challenges make our process harder. We have a farther way to go. We have to ask more questions. We have to do our homework. We have to, at the baseline, be more preventative. You know, what are we gonna do with the hair? I'm gonna answer that question. I gotta get that question answered. What are we gonna do with the hair so that my sisters could exercise? Do we need to change the standard beauty? Do we need to not be so hung up in hair? How about that person? How about that human? How about the mother of your child or the one that holds you at night? More important, I think. Maybe we'll see. Again, this is Believe Radio, 24-hour inspirational gospel music, being supported by Conscious Voices. Thank you. Miss Howard will be in next week and she's going to be doing a show. She's back. She's at a conference. They keep her busy. That's okay. Keep her busy. And we won't always. I'm a person that believes that a strong Black woman is a complete Black woman. I got no problem with that. I think we don't need to have a problem with that. This issue with heart disease and women of color being so impacted is that I, as a man, have to say, gotta watch what you're eating. I gotta watch what I'm eating. We gotta get more exercise because it's a village, it's a team that changes this paradigm. You can't do it by yourself. You know, if you drinking and smoking and I gotta eat this over here, guess what I'm gonna do? If I'm living with you, probably leave, but you ain't got that option. So we have to change that paradigm, and I'm placing men on the cusp of this and saying that we have to change. We have to be the change we want to see and be. And sometimes that's uncomfortable. Sometimes it's painful. Sometimes, but then, hey, we got to make some changes. This is Education is the Best Medicine, where I tape every second and third Saturday, and sometimes nights when my guests gotta go to Europe. So I want to thank all you for listening and supporting me over time. There's got some great things ahead, and I want to thank the folks in Solano County and at the Fairfield Adult Medicine Clinic for having me there for a year or so, and enjoy working with the population, all the people that made it possible. This is Believe Radio, 24-hour inspirational gospel music. Check out some of our other shows. We got somebody coming in, I guess around 3. Hey, let us know. Let us know how we're doing. Good, bad, or indifferent. I like him. Leave the comments. Let me know. We want to do what you want me to do. I want to thank you for allowing me this space. It's one that has allowed me some, respite and allowed me to connect in a way I wouldn't have been able to connect otherwise. Um, Again, want to thank Danny Cotton for turning 70. He's a great black man. I love him so much. Oh man. I guess I'm bringing this up because I'm that old brother now that I used to say, "Oh, look at that old brother over there." I'm him now, and I'm okay with that. I want to say again, special to my grandbaby and to my sisters and to my family and all those people that have made me who I am, and we want to keep it moving. And as we make these new transitions, please to be okay with being okay. Take care of yourself, love yourself. Um, you are our best resource. Um, Take care. Thank you very much. We'll see you in a couple weeks. Be peaceful out there. Bye bye.